Hey guys, welcome to All Time Gaming. I'm Chris.
I'm Jamie, and guys, we did it.
Yeah?
We survived 2018.
Oh, thank God.
Another year down, another year closer to death. And God, what a shit show it was, eh, Chris?
Hey, listen, I'm just happy to see the end of it.
And while that may be true, at least we got some good games.
We did get good games, yeah. It was a great year for games.
It was. But now, it's time to look to the future and all the possible shitstorms that await us in 2019.
So come with us now as we take a look at 6 worrying trends that might run rampant in 2019. Trigger warning, it ain't good.
As we saw in 2018, free-to-play games are on the rise. Fortnite, Dauntless, and Warframe are all doing crazy number and crazy.
All doing crazy number.
I've been listening to Togo for too long. They're doing crazy number.
Welcome to the Hotel California.
Fortnite, Dauntless, and Warframe are all doing crazy numbers, and that's largely thanks to the juicy fact that they're free.
Yeah.
Which means everyone can afford them.
I also kind of feel that like if you ever pay to play a game that fails, just make it free to play.
Pretty much. I mean, because who can say no to a free game, right?
And not this guy.
Another reason is that some of these games have done away with the whole loot box thing in exchange for something that sounds a lot better on paper, the Battle Pass.
Oh.
These are essentially subscriptions for games that allow you to access content that free-to-play peasants aren't allowed to get their grubby little mitts on.
It's basically gaming apartheid.
As an African, you would know.
I do know, all too well.
And while these Battle Passes only offer cosmetic items for most games, we can't help but worry that this could all change in the future. So far, Battle Passes are pretty non-intrusive, if you ignore the giant adverts for them all over every game ever.
Yeah, especially in the main menu.
I gotta remind you that it's there, Chris. Hey, do you want to spend some money?
Yeah, I didn't know.
But how long will it be until we see whole parts of games locked off to players who don't want to drop $15 every couple of weeks in the games they play? Suddenly they're restricted by the fact they don't have the money to burn, and that doesn't sit right with me, Chris.
No, not at all.
While these Battle Passes have done us all a favour and helped kill off loot boxes, it also creates a scary state where people are rewarded for pumping a small stream of money into a game. Look at Dauntless, for example, where you get stronger weapons, Chris.
You see, this is where I want to draw the line, right? Because I was okay with it, kind of, up until now, but as soon as it's like changes the way you play the game, that's not cool. Like, just keep it cosmetic, guys.
100%. And it also creates a divide between free players and paying players, where the rich get stronger and the poor get, well, adverts all the time. I mean, that's horrible.
Now, Jamie, something that's been the bane of every gamer since the dawn of video games is the pre-order.
What the hell is wrong with you?
I mean, they've been around for a long while, right? Except this year it's gonna get a little bit weirder.
Oh no.
Publishers want us to drop our hard-earned money on a game long before we know absolutely anything about it. And they do this by offering us some sweet, sweet pre-order bonus incentives. And this, frankly, sucks.
Especially for me, because I get sucked in by them every time.
They just seem to be offering more and more stuff if you pre-order. I don't want to pre-order. I want to read the review. Anyway, in 2018 alone, we got Fallout 76 offering a beta, God of War offering powerful weapons in the early game to make the game easier, and a Naruto game that offered you, well, fucking socks.
I mean, I kind of want some Naruto socks. Can I get them?
I'm wearing Naruto socks right now.
That's why you've been running so fast today.
Yeah, with my arms behind my back. The one that's really got me though, Jamie, is Devil May Cry 5's pre-order comes with a fucking Mega Man arm, the blaster.
Hell yes.
I don't know if you'll be able to get that unless you pre-order. What am I gonna do? I'm just gonna have to fucking pre-order it.
Either way, you're gonna lose money.
Yeah. All these small offerings do is try to convince us that a game is worth buying by distracting us with things kind of completely irrelevant to the game most of the time.
They're buying into that gamer OCD that we all have, where if we don't get every little thing available for a game we love, we're not getting the full experience.
Yeah, I mean, just look what happened with Red Dead Redemption.
I spent £75 on that game.
And you didn't even get everything.
I didn't.
It's madness. But it could be even worse. Sometimes missions or even whole characters are kept from players and offered as pre-order bonuses. This often banks on fans' nostalgia for the series and makes them pay way more to get something that, I mean, to be honest, they should have access to anyway. Soon we're gonna get to the point where you need to pre-order Street Fighter, I don't know, Super Hyper Mega Edition EX Omega if you want to just play as fucking Ryu. Oh, wait, hold on, they've already done that with Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat 11.
I mean, Shao Kahn, he's main roster material.
As people are getting better at holding off on pre-ordering games, publishers are having to think of worse and worse ways to prematurely take the money out of our wallets.
Where's the money, Lebowski?
Let's just hope in 2019 we don't get to the point where the new COD game comes out with guns that don't have triggers and the only way to shoot them is to pre-order. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but it is Activision at the end of the day.
Back at BlizzCon this year, a little game was announced that got the internet a little bit upset, Chris.
Yeah, just a little.
A game that we can all play because
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have
Everyone's
phones,
got a phone.
right?
the phone game no one asked for is Diablo Immortal.
This one stings.
This was a problem for a lot of people, partly because it showed Blizzard clearly don't understand what the Diablo community wants, but also because it shows a shift in the gaming market, a shift towards China.
China.
China. Lots of companies now are starting to focus on the Chinese gaming market, which makes sense. I mean, there are about 250 million gamers in China, so it's easy to see why people want to get some of that yuan cash money.
Yuan cash money.
My new favorite rapper.
Holla holla make yuan dollar. Doesn't really
I feel
make
like we're getting insensitive now. But this is causing a lot of devs to go down a similar route, focusing more on making mobile games and spending less and less time on their console counterparts. PUBG, for example, had 50% of its player base in China in 2017.
Ouch.
Although it did actually just get banned in that country, so there's that.
Double ouch.
Yeah.
Hey, we covered it in our podcast. Now's a good time to tell you about our podcast. We have a podcast. Go listen.
It's us without the script.
Info in the description.
Also, Chris, we almost had the whole controversy around Rainbow Six Siege when they tried to introduce a whole heap of changes to the game to make it more friendly to the Chinese censors.
Oh yeah, they're like making it less bloody and removing signs and stuff.
Sexual imagery, all the kind of weird things that Chinese people don't like,
Yeah.
like ghosts and skeletons.
I mean, I don't like him either, so...
Obviously, there was a big enough fan backlash that Ubisoft walked it back, but it was a reminder of how close we are.
Damn.
And here's the scary thing.
Yeah.
They tried to implement that as a change, so the community and the fan base could fight back. What happens when a game decides to make that change in development?
Yeah.
While the public is unknowing of it?
Doesn't paint a pretty picture, Jamie.
Doesn't. Does this mean we'll be seeing more games being released for mobile with a free-to-play model crammed with microtransactions? Sadly, it's quite likely. Just remember, guys, you can always speak with your wallet and not play these games. Let's just hope the companies here in the West hear our voices, at least hear them over the voices of those 300 million Chinese players.
You know what, Jamie?
What's that, Chris?
Nostalgia. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug.
I mean, have you tried heroin?
As we've seen in recent years, companies have been preying on our nostalgic love for video games as much as they can. And it looks like it's only gonna get worse, baby.
Great.
Companies like Nintendo and Sony have been jumping at the chance to repackage their old games and consoles and sell them back to us at a hefty profit margin. Recently, we got the SNES Classic and the PlayStation Classic, two mini consoles that completely manipulated people who were desperate to relive their childhood memories. In the case of the Nintendo one, it was pretty decent. In the case of the PlayStation one, not so much.
Yeah.
But you know what? Just like your ex, they ain't coming back, guys. Just move on. We also got the Crash and Spyro remakes, which, I mean, while fun to play, are pretty obviously taking advantage of people's nostalgic love for those games.
And boy, did they sell.
Like hotcakes. Just look at any media coverage. It's always compared to how we remember it. This has us worried that 2019 will be the year of, hey, you guys remember this? Remember this one? You used to like this one.
Give us money if you remember this.
Hell yeah. Where every other game coming out is either a remake or a reimagining. I mean, we've got Medieval, Resident Evil 2, and Final Fantasy 7 all to come, so we are in no short supply of them. Although in the case of Resident Evil 2 and Final Fantasy 7, I'm looking forward to them, not gonna lie.
Also, Chris, 2019 will be the year of release for Shenmue 3, a game they brainwashed people into crowdfunding.
Madness.
They made people think Shenmue was good.
Do you know of any places where sailors hang out?
This sucks because it means less time goes into making new and original games and more into the same games that we've already played. I like gaming because it offers me new and exciting experiences. I don't want to keep reliving the same moments over and over again because that's just not fun, unless it's masturbation.
Something that's been buzzing around the gaming landscape for a while now is the idea of streaming games.
Streaming games?
Streaming games.
Hey, who paid you for this entry? Was it Jonesy?
It was Google, via Jonesy. Back in the day, companies like OnLive used to offer the ability to stream all your games through the magical power of the internet.
Ooh, magic.
Exactly. And while OnLive may not have worked out, these days more and more companies are willing to try out this whole streaming thing, and it's got us a little worried.
Cautious.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah.
Services like Xbox, xCloud, and Google's Project Stream all aim to allow players to stream their games instantly to their home devices.
So far, so good?
Well, with a small subscription fee, of course.
Okay, of course.
And while that idea does sound okay, Chris, some ideas are too good to be true. Because, as I said, not only do you have to get a subscription for some of these services, but you also have to get the games through them too.
They should just have like all-in-one service, really.
Sure, like Game Pass.
Yeah, like imagine if Game Pass came with streaming, so you didn't actually have to buy the console.
Again, might be too good to be true. And that's not the only issue, Chris.
Okay.
Because all this means that if the service goes bankrupt and shuts down, you can say goodbye to all those games that you bought on it. While some services like Shadow offer the ability to link your Steam library to the service and just use those games, not all of them offer this feature. This is more apparent with Switch games in Japan, where Nintendo is trying out streaming certain games to the system. People who buy Assassin's Creed Odyssey for the Switch will have it streamed. inside, and the cartridge is little more than a key to the game.
Though I do kind of want to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey on my Switch.
Just move to Japan.
Easy.
Easy. This means that if the service is a bust and Nintendo decide not to continue doing it, all those people who bought Odyssey straight up won't be able to play it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why it's only in Japan, right? Because they're testing the waters.
Exactly. And Chris, none of this is even mentioning that people with unstable internet connections will be constantly struggling to play their games.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, what was that statistic? Something like half of the US, or more than half of the US, doesn't have adequate internet speeds in order to run these services.
Exactly, and Australia, they've still got dial-up. Overall, the idea of online streaming is great, but we're no way ready to start relying on it as a dedicated way to play games.
I guess we like the idea in concept, right? It's gonna be like the first generation of anything. It's gonna be shit. Okay, guys, topping off our list of woe is probably the most worrying trend that's already beginning to take shape. This is your trigger warning. More and more digital stores are starting to appear, and while that may sound like a good thing, more competition is good after all. This may end up hurting the industry more than anything else.
This one, Chris, genuinely scares me. A lot of the other things we talked about, I feel like I might get lucky and be able to avoid them. I feel like this one will destroy my life.
Epic Games, aka the company that cursed us with Fortnite, recently launched their own online store. And at the Video Game Awards, it was confirmed they were getting their own exclusive games, with the first being Supergiant Games' Hades, with the promise of more to come. Look, while this might sound great on paper, it may not all be so fine and dandy, alright? Because, unsurprisingly, exclusivity does not encourage competition. It encourages exclusion. Need I remind you what happened to Rise of the Tomb Raider, where it was an Xbox exclusive, and a handful of people got to play it, and about a year later when it came out on PlayStation, nobody played it.
Exactly.
Devs will start spreading out across different platforms to the point where people are going to have 15 different fucking launchers on their computer. People are lazy, and if we have to boot up a new launcher every time we want to play a game, I mean, we probably just won't play it. Think of how many logins you need to keep track of. Even if you use the same password, which you should never do, if that gets hacked, or if you forget it, then you're screwed.
You have to change your password every time you sign into PSN.
I don't like it, because I can never remember. And that's not even factoring in what might happen if subscriptions are introduced, because guess what? As soon as they have you by the short and curlies, they can do whatever the fuck they want to do. If these stores go the way of PS Plus and Xbox Games Pass, we'll be seeing seas of people pissed off that a game that they paid for a week ago on Steam is now free on Epic, or vice versa.
I can already put myself in that position, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh, this service has a decent library. Oh, $7.99 a month. Okay,
Yeah,
it's
it's
reasonable.
nothing, yeah.
Until I've signed up for 7 of them.
It'll cause a halt of all game purchases because people don't know what's going to be offered to them for free. I can't blame them, really. I'd be annoyed if I spend $60 on a game only to see it for free the next day. It happens with PS Plus all the time, doesn't it?
It happens with Games Pass all the time too. Apparently Forza Horizon 4 sold millions of copies.
How?
I'm gonna be honest, if you bought Forza Horizon 4, you're an idiot. You can get the first month of Games Pass for $1.
Just do that.
Unless you have bad internet like we were talking about before. Sorry, Australia.
Look, all I'm saying is that devs need to play it carefully if they want to keep everyone happy. And I just hope we don't see a decline in PC game purchases because of this very thing.
Whoa. Oh my god. This is the closest I've ever seen my face. There's loads of little holes in it. It's you, the viewer. There you are.